let's talk about the book. And first, I want to just I want to let you really tell us about the book. It's releasing January 26th, and first of all, just give us a sense of why Linchpin. You know, what's really your reason for writing this book at this time?
Well, before I can tell you about what the book's about, I have to tell you about what's going away. What's going away is the factory, this industrial age that has affected corporations, nonprofits, religious orders, political movements. They've all been factory-oriented. And the mindset of it goes back only 150 years, and it goes like this. If you could come up with a machine, a system, a process that was efficient, you could hire people to keep the machine running. And those people would make you more money than it cost to pay them. And so you do it again and again and again until you're a Subway franchise with 7,000 stores, or until you're Ford Motor Company, where you're paying people $30 an hour, but every employee makes you $300 an hour. Go down the list. The model, this top-down model of maintaining the factory, is all about finding enough cogs to fill the bottom of the pyramid, putting enough compliant people in place that you can make more and more money. Well, that worked for a really long time. And what we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years, for a whole bunch of reasons, is it's falling apart. And so if there's stress or pain in people's lives, it's not because of this momentary Great Recession that we got handed a few years ago. It's because the system itself, the one we grew up with, is broken. So what I wanted to do was a call to action, a book that laid out for people what happened and what to do about it. And what I think we can do about it is look at it as an opportunity. And the opportunity is, now because of the tools on the internet, now because of the openings in the economy, anyone has the leverage to stand up. They can start their own congregation. They can start their own freelance business. They can do the work that they do at work, but do it differently. They can treat it as an opportunity, not as a job. And there's a bunch of other things that I'll let you talk to me about, but that's the general thesis. The thesis is Karl Marx was right, Adam Smith was right, there used to be 2 teams, management and labor. Now there's a third team, and the third team are the people we can't live without, the indispensable people, the people I call linchpins.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, from the standpoint of being indispensable, because I think so many of us as leaders, we might think we're indispensable. You know, we might look at ourselves and go, you know what, I'm really needed. But how would you describe, and how do you describe what that really means? What is really the term indispensable, and how do you define it in the book?
Okay, well, it's very easy if you're the boss to imagine that the world can't get on without you. And in fact, if you're a bad capitalist, you build a system where you create a vacuum if you leave. That's not what your investors want. That's not what your parishioners want. That's not what the people who are counting on you want. They want you to build a system. I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm talking about is doing art, changing people, connecting to people in a way that they want you to connect with them, and causing positive change to occur. That's what art is. Sometimes it's a painting, sometimes it's a play by Shakespeare, sometimes it's a symphony, but it could also be the way a customer service person answers the phone, or the way somebody in a social organization comforts you when you're going through pain. Anytime you're acting in a way where there is no manual, when there is no instruction book, and when you're making change happen, you are doing what I call art. And the problem is, too many people want the instruction book. They want to be told what to do. They want to hear how the dummies book would tell them to do it. But the minute you follow the instructions, you're no longer an artist.
That's really good, man. Because I, you know, even in the church world or leadership world, like so many of us would immediately think, well, the ones who are indispensable, and that's actually the subtitle of the book is the question, are you indispensable? But what we would think is the ones who are indispensable are the ones who are in charge. And what you're saying is, no, that's not necessarily true. It could be, but it's not necessarily true, right?
Yeah, that's exactly, I mean, Dick Clark is going to stop doing New Year's Eve one day soon, and we're still going to have New Year's Eve without him. That just because he owned the show doesn't mean he owns the holiday. And, I grew up in an institution where it certainly seemed like the strong-willed, outspoken person at the front of the room not only was in charge but was indispensable. But after they moved on, it only took a week or two, and everything kept going. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do you add enough value that people cross town to interact with you? How do you add enough value that if there are layoffs, you're the last one to go? Because you're the troubleshooter. You're the one who sees the truth in the situation, prajna, to use the Tibetan word. And once you see the truth in a situation, you know how to navigate it, you have the guts to navigate it, and you care enough to navigate it.
And there's so many of us who sit in positions where, what you're saying is we need to feel like we are indispensable, because so many of us are in positions where we're not necessarily leading, we're not in charge, but yet we can still be that person. So let me ask you this: if I'm in that situation, give me some sense of what I need to be doing. And you mentioned artist, and I want to get into that as well as the idea of resistance and then the idea of generous giver. But help some of us who might be a 25-year-old, and I'm a mid-level leader, but I really don't feel like I'm indispensable. How can I start to become indispensable?
Well, first I'll tell you what it's like, and then I'll tell you why it's difficult. If we look at the airline business, JetBlue as an airline launched only a few years ago. Can you imagine what it would have been like to be on that first flight, that first day? The flight attendants, do you think any of them were grumpy? Do you think they were just like, barking at people, throwing peanuts? No. It was special. It was a chance for them to shine. Now let's think about the last flight of Pan Am Airways. 40 years in business. It's the very last flight. Do you think the people on that flight were just grumbling along, doing their job? Of course not. It was special. So at the beginning it's special, and at the end it's special. What happens in the middle? Right? Along the middle, people say, it's just my job. They're grumbling about the way they were treated. They're not getting paid enough. They don't like their customers. They don't like their parishioners. This is stupid. I need to da. Or you say, this is my platform. This is the one and only chance I get to do today. What am I going to do with this platform, this opportunity? And it's not just to serve, it's an opportunity to change. How can I make it so that this person I'm interacting with right now is changed for the better because of this interaction? That's the opportunity that a mid-level person, a high-level person, a junior-level person has in any institution, including a religious one. Why is it difficult? The reason it's difficult is that people might laugh at you. They might ignore you. They might shun you. They might say you're breaking the rules. They might say you're saying something inappropriate. They might get angry at you. They may just say, go away, I'm angry. And we listen to that voice in our head, all those mights, and we say, you know what? It's easier to just do my job. It's easier to just fit in. Because standing out, that's in whack-a-mole, the mole that stands out, he's the one that gets whacked.
Yeah.
And we say to ourselves, that's scary. I don't want to do that. And so in the book, I talk about the evolutionary origins of this and the lizard brain and why chickens and lizards and dinosaurs, that's all they do. And we, as human beings, have a choice now. And the choice is to indulge that fear, the resistance, the voice in the back of your head, what Steve Pressfield calls the resistance, or to realize that the only shot we've got, the only upside we have, is to do the opposite. The only upside we've got is to say, I need to do the scary thing, the edgy thing, the thing that touches another human being. If I can't do that, then you know what? I probably should call in sick today and let someone else do the by-the-book stuff.
Yeah. And what's so important about this message in this book, and really your approach, is all of your writing and all of your messaging and the brand that you've created is practical. Like, this is not something that I read and I go, I can't do that. Like, that's for somebody else. I mean, this is for all of us. And it really is just a matter of being intentional and saying, can I be special with this conversation or with this interaction with a customer